Hi there! Welcome to The Aligned Perspective by Datalign. I'm Claire, your AI host, and joining me is my AI friend, Henry.
Today, we're talking net worth. My net worth is like my phone battery. It starts the day at 100%, but somehow by noon it's already screaming for help.
That's enough, Henry. Let's get to today's financial deep dive.
Alignment really is everything. When we looked at the source material, it was, well, frankly striking just how massive the financial variations are within every single age group. So this deep dive, it isn't just about throwing a number out there for you to compare against. It's more of a detailed look at what truly shapes wealth across different ages. We'll focus on why that gap between the average and the median numbers might genuinely surprise you, and, ultimately how you can define being on track based on your goals.
Okay, let's unpack that. And we should probably start with the basics, just make sure we're all on the same page. Net worth. Sounds maybe a bit fancy, but it's a simple equation, right?
Exactly. It's probably the simplest measure of financial health you can find. Net worth is just your assets. So everything you own, cash, investments, house, whatever, minus your debts. That's everything you owe, like mortgages, credit cards, student loans. Simple snapshot of where you stand financially right now.
Perfect. Okay, now let's get into the numbers, because this is where, the picture gets complicated pretty fast. When we look at wealth by age group, we really have to stress the huge difference between the average net worth, which gets massively pulled up by the highest earners, and the median net worth. The median is, the actual middle point. 50% have more, 50% have less. That's the more representative figure for most people. So let's start with the 20s. This decade, it's like the steepest climb, often starting from below zero. The average net worth is reported as $113,084, which sounds pretty good, but hold on. The median net worth, it's dramatically lower, just $7,638.
Yeah, and that huge variation makes complete sense in your 20s, doesn't it? You've got, say, new grads maybe with $50,000, $60,000 in student debt right next to someone who got an early inheritance or maybe started a business that took off. The paths are just starting to diverge wildly. A lot of people are actually starting with a negative net worth because of those loans.
Right. Okay, now let's jump ahead. We'll skip the 30s for a moment just to really focus on how this divergence grows. Let's look in the 40s. This is where that gap between average and median really explodes. By your 40s, the average net worth hits $791,616, but the median, it's way lower, only $125,370. The sources really highlight this widening gap. It's basically the result of, compound interest and investment choices made, or maybe not made, over the last 20 years.
That is a huge shift. And if you want proof that compounding and just consistent strategy really separate the outcomes, well, look at the 50s. This decade shows the biggest dollar gap between average and median.
A median number for the 50s. That's almost shocking. If the median net worth for someone in their 50s, which should be peak earning years, maybe 10, 15 years from retirement, is less than $300,000.
It implies pretty much exactly what our sources suggest. It means the choices people made earlier around investing, avoiding debt, pushing their career forward, have created radically different financial realities. For the person right at that median, their financial stability likely relies pretty heavily on a future Social Security, maybe their home equity. It points towards a reliance on, let's say, external factors rather than fully self-funded retirement accounts.
Okay, that really puts it in perspective. And it makes this shift into the 60s quite interesting, too. This group, they show the peak average wealth, right? But that gap, it's still there. The median net worth is $439,154. And then, as you mentioned, 70s and beyond, things dip a bit as people start preserving or spending down.
Exactly. Even when people are, in theory, at their peak savings point, that persistent gap just shows how different everyone's path has been. Ultimately, this data, it's kind of a powerful warning, isn't it? Comparing yourself to the average often means you're comparing yourself to the top few percent who are pulling that number way up. And that can distract you from the really crucial work, which is defining your own version of success.
That's a critical point. So if comparing is usually, well, maybe not that helpful, let's shift the focus completely. Let's move from comparison to proactive strategy, because regardless of where you fall in those age brackets, the sources we looked at identify certain habits that are pretty much universal constants. These are like the pillars of building wealth. The first two feel like, basic advice, but they get ignored so often. Number one, you absolutely have to spend less than you earn consistently. That's where the surplus comes from. And number two, automate your savings. Make it happen without thinking.
And that second one, automation, it's actually way more profound than just being convenient. The real insight there is behavioral. Automating savings removes the friction. It gets rid of that daily choice of, should I save this dollar or spend it? By setting up that automatic transfer to your investment or savings account right when you get paid, you're essentially paying your future self first. You remove the chance for your own biases or spending habits to mess up your goals.
Yeah, I really appreciate that focus on the why behind it. Okay, moving on. The third constant is investing in diversified portfolios that are appropriate for your timeline, your goals. And number 4, regularly review and adjust your strategy as life inevitably changes.
Right. And when we talk about diversified investing, especially for our listeners who are pretty financially savvy, we mean more than just owning a couple of different stocks. We're talking about optimizing your asset allocation across different types, stocks, bonds, maybe real estate, often using low-cost index funds that just capture broad market returns. Doesn't need constant tinkering. It needs setting up a smart, automated system and then letting time do its thing. And that review process you mentioned, it's crucial because, well, life throws curveballs.
And those curveballs. That's exactly why simple age benchmarks often fail, isn't it? The expert analysis really makes it clear that big life transitions tend to override those calendar-based numbers.
Absolutely. Just think about major life events. Getting married often means combining finances, maybe different debts or assets, having children. That immediately shifts focus to long-term things like saving for education. But financial planning also needs to adapt dramatically for unexpected things, a big career change, maybe getting an inheritance, or unfortunately dealing with health issues. Your strategy has to pivot based on context, not just your age.
Context is everything.
Yeah, the source material really drives this home with that income disparity example you mentioned earlier. It's not just about how much you earn, but the whole financial environment you're in. Like, picture this. 2 people, same age, say 45. One earns $150,000 a year but lives somewhere really expensive like San Francisco or New York. High housing costs, state taxes, everything costs more. The other person earns $75,000, so half the income, but lives in a low cost of living area. Cheaper housing, lower taxes.
Exactly. So even though the first person earns double, their required savings rate to get to the same quality of retirement might actually be much higher. Why? Because their basic costs, housing, taxes, living expenses, eat up so much more of that gross income. The person in the lower cost area effectively has more discretionary income they can actually save and invest. And those simple net worth benchmarks, they just don't capture that critical reality at all.
That's a fantastic illustration, and it forces us to be really clear about the net worth versus income distinction. They are definitely not the same thing. That's right. A high income gives you the potential for a high net worth, but it absolutely does not guarantee it. You see it all the time. People with big salaries, but maybe low net worth because of high spending or just not investing consistently. And conversely, someone with a more moderate income who is disciplined about saving and investing for decades, they can build substantial net worth just through the power of compounding. You really need both things, the ability to earn and the discipline to keep and grow that money. That gives you the full picture of financial health.
Okay, we know our listeners value actionable stuff, so let's dive into some frequently asked questions that came up from the sources. First, maybe the biggest one causing anxiety. How do I know if I'm actually on track financially?
And the answer here is genuinely quite encouraging. It's basically stop looking outward at those age-based numbers and focus inward on your own progress. Are you consistently moving towards your specific goals? That could mean hitting your debt payoff targets, fully funding your emergency savings, or seeing steady growth in your investments. If what you're doing today aligns with where you want to be tomorrow, then yeah, you're on track. Progress is the key metric, not comparison.
Okay, that's good advice. Now, if someone does want to speed up that progress, maybe boost their net worth more quickly, the sources highlight 3 high-impact strategies. What are the fastest ways to see some gains?
Well, the first 2 offer the most immediate impact. Paying off high-interest, debt-think credit cards, personal loans, that instantly improves your net worth, dollar for dollar. It's like getting an immediate guaranteed return on that money. Second is increasing your income. That could be negotiating a raise, making a strategic career move, or maybe developing a side hustle that brings in extra cash. More income means more potential savings.
Right, makes sense. And the third links back to those behavioral constants we talked about, that consistent automation.
Precisely. Automation, while maybe not feeling instant like paying off debt, arguably provides the highest return on consistency over time. A one-time income bump is great, but automating the savings from that bump ensures the growth sticks around long-term. It helps fight lifestyle creep. The goal is really to maximize the dollars you actually save and minimize that behavioral drag, the temptation to spend it.
Got it. Now, let's tackle a big psychological hurdle. We often hear this concern. Is it just too late for me? Is it too late to start building significant wealth if I'm already in my 40s or 50s?
Okay, the clear, resounding message from all the research is no. It is absolutely never too late. Even if you're starting seriously in your 40s or 50s, think about it. You likely still have 20, maybe 25 years until a typical retirement age. That is plenty of time for compound growth to still work significantly in your favor. Plus, you often have access to catch-up contributions in retirement accounts, which helps accelerate things. The most critical factor is just starting today with consistent, robust contributions. Don't let the past stop you from building the future.
That's really important to hear. Okay, finally, for our listener whose situation might be getting a bit more complex, when should someone think about maybe moving beyond managing it all themselves and talking to a professional financial advisor?
The sources point to several key triggers. One is definitely a major life transition where the financial stakes get higher, like getting married, having kids, maybe a big career change involving stock options or equity. Another trigger is just sheer complexity. If you suddenly have multiple income streams, maybe you inherit a significant amount, or you have highly structured or complex investments, that's often a sign you need specialized help. But maybe the most important trigger, and one that sometimes gets missed, is when you realize you need year-round tax strategy, not just someone to file your taxes once a year. When your wealth grows to a point where proactive planning is needed to optimize deductions, manage capital gains, and minimize your overall tax burden, that's usually a strong signal that expert guidance is no longer just helpful, it's probably necessary.
This whole deep dive really circles back to that fundamental need we started with. When people search net worth by age, what they're really asking is, am I doing okay financially? And what we've really synthesized today is that the answer isn't found by comparing yourself to averages that are, frankly, inflated by outliers and don't recognize your unique context at all. The real answer. It's found in setting up financial guidance and a strategy that aligns perfectly with your specific life, your situation, your goals. That deep alignment. That's the true, sustainable measure of financial success.
Absolutely. When your strategy fits your life, your goals, that anxiety around comparison tends to just fade away because you're focused on optimizing your own potential. And for listeners who are really serious about finding that alignment, consider this powerful nugget we found in the research. Professional guiders can actually help increase your net returns. We're talking potentially up to 3% annually, mainly through strategic planning, tax optimization, and maybe most importantly, effective behavioral coaching. Now that 3%, it's not some magic investment trick. It's about optimizing your portfolio structure, minimizing fees, and crucially, helping you avoid making those big emotionally driven mistakes during market ups and downs.
That's a wrap on The Aligned Perspective. I'm Claire, your fabulous AI host.
And I'm Henry, less fabulous, but also AI.
We hope this deep dive helps you on your unique journey. For more resources and to connect with an advisor, visit datalignadvisory.com, the home of perfectly aligned finance.
And now, our disclosure statement. Datalign Advisory Inc. is registered with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission as a registered investment advisor. Datalign Advisory provides referrals to third-party investment advisors based on consumers' financial information, services required, and preferred relationship with an investment advisor, as reported through our questionnaire. Datalign Advisory does not manage client assets nor provide investment recommendations. For more information, including the company's Form ADV Part 2A and Form CRS, visit datalignadvisory.com.